Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to 28th Lucknow Meals of Meetup. Uh, our topic for today's session is Introduction to Anypoint platform, which is a part of our MIA certification preparation series. So, our speaker Ankita will guide us through this topic. Next slide, please. So, before we start, some safe harbor statement. So, both the speaker and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. We are not representing our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purpose only. Organizer or presenter do not hold any responsibility that same solution will work for your business requirement. This presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. So some housekeeping. So we are recording the session. So the recording will be uploaded in the page, meetup page within 24 hours, ideally before 24 hours only. So if you have any question, you already have mic access. You can unmute, you can ask, or you can put it on chat, and we'll try to answer all your questions. Uh, Once the meetup is done, you will get a feedback form at in your email after the meetup. So please fill up that form because that is very important for the group, for the speaker, for the organizer to let us know like what improvement we can do or what you found good in the meetup and what next topic you want us to present in the sessions so we can bring up that. Uh, Next slide, please. So, Akib and me, we are the organizer for this meetup. We are just keeping our introduction over here. Uh, Over to you, Ankita. Now you can take up from here.
Thank you so much, Abhishek, Akib. So, hi, my name is Ankita Mishra, and I have overall more than 13 years of experience in the field of technical training and quality um, analysis. Sorry, and I'm a contributing MuleSoft mentor and a webinar speaker. I have been certified into multiple MuleSoft certifications like L1, L2, MCIA, MCPA, and along with that, I have also completed my design thinking and leadership training. So, the agenda for today's meetup would be to help you prepare for your MIA certification. Actually, this is the series, right, that we are running for this particular group, where we will help you to prepare for your MIA certification, which is nothing but MuleSoft Integration Associate certification. So, in our first series, in the part one of this series, basically we have covered a few of the topics that I'm going to start with as a part of the revision, and then followed by that we are going to cover these topics today, where we will talk about what is a C4E team, what is Anypoint platform. Then we will also talk about some common integration primitives and patterns. Of course, the forum is always open for question and answer. So during the training as well, if you have any kind of questions, confusions, as well as inputs, I would highly appreciate it. Please feel free to unmute yourself and share your thoughts. Okay. So before we start our topic, I would quickly like to cover whatever we have covered so far, so that those who were not, able to get a chance to go through the overview session, I'll quickly cover it. Let me quickly open the whiteboard. Just give me a second. Okay. So please let me know if the Jamboard is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah, great. So we basically talked about what is MuleSoft. Let me quickly just, yeah. So in our last session, that is the part one series of our MIA, we basically talked about what is MuleSoft. So MuleSoft is nothing but an integration platform. And an integration platform is nothing but it actually helps us to integrate our application with multiple other domains out there in the market. So we are living in an IT ecosystem where the changes are the only thing which is consistent, which is constant. And I'm sorry, is it disturbing the sound, the background sound?
No, no, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you so much. So yes, so the point is that we talked about an integration platform, and the integration platform is nothing but it actually helps you to connect your application with multiple other applications, multiple other domains, multiple other networking applications, multiple other platforms in the market. Okay, so we learned about the reason why we needed an integration platform like that. The reason was the growing IT delivery gaps. Okay, sorry. IT delivery gaps. What is the IT delivery gap? So because of these changes, because of the changes which are happening in the IT ecosystem, the clients' demands are increasing day by day. Okay, their demands are increasing day by day, but we have limited number of resources, limited amount of time. So the problem is that this particular gap is increasing exponentially. Okay, and this increasing gap is nothing but this is called as IT delivery gap. So to overcome this, we actually proposed new IT operating model. Okay, we actually proposed this new IT operating model. The funder of this new IT operating model was reusability. Okay, so the concept was reusability. Let's try to focus on creating such assets that can be reused. No matter what are the applications that we are working with, what are the networking that we are working with, what are the platforms we are working with, doesn't matter. But my assets can be reusable in any of the technologies, any of the platforms which are presently available in the market, or which can be proposed in future in the IT ecosystem. So that was the funda, that was the principle of this new IT operating model, to focus on creating the reusable assets. Okay, so in order to achieve this, we introduced API led connectivity approach. So in API-led connectivity approach, this was proposed over P2P, which is called as project-based approach. So in project-based approach, what happens? As an IT person, as a development team, you get a project from outside from your client, and then you start working on, catering to your client while working on that particular project. But now, what we are going to do? When we are going to work on any particular project, then our motive should not be revolving around that project. Rather, we should be focusing on creating reusable assets that can also be utilized in any other projects in the in the future, or which are presently available in our what do you say in our current environment. So the point is that now we are not only going to target one project at a time. The point is that while working on this project, let's focus on creating the assets that can further be utilized in any other applications in the future by creating an application network. Okay, so this was the beauty of API-led connectivity approach. And what did we learn in API-led connectivity approach? API-led connectivity approach can be categorized into three layers. The first layer is system API, second layer is process API layer, and the third layer was experience API layer. Now, what have we done? We have segregated or modularized the entire architecture. So, all the APIs that we are going to build in system API layer should only be catering to my backend systems where my data is residing. So your data can be resided into AWS, it can be into Salesforce, it can be into cloud based applications, it can be into your on premises services, right? Doesn't matter. The APIs that I'm going to create in the system API layers will only be able to, their job should only be concentrated or revolved around the data which are stored in these base systems. In process APIs, we are mainly going to focus on the logic or orchestration of the data. That how are you going to work with this data which is residing in this base system? What is the purpose of this data, right? So all the logic will be written in this particular layer. And the presentation will be written in the experience API. How do you want to cater it to your end user? You want to cater it through a web app application, you want to cater it to a mobile application. So this way you have actually modularized the entire API led you have modularized the entire architecture using your API led connectivity approach. So we have talked about it, and after that we talked about API development lifecycle. Okay, because we have already seen that APIs play a very important role in this API led connectivity approach. So now the focus is to develop the APIs in a way that they can be further utilized in any other applications. Okay. So in API development lifecycle, it was basically represented by three concentric circles. The first circle represents the design phase. Okay. So now when the APIs are going to be developed, we are mainly going to focus on designing the API first and then doing the development of that API. Why? Because designing something gives you a kind of a model of that particular architecture. So if you will go through my last session, we have taken an analogy of creating a house. So whenever you have to create a building, you don't directly go to the construction site and start developing or building that particular architecture. Rather, you take some time, you design the model, you simulate it, you take feedback from the stakeholders, and after that, you design a proper model out of it. And based on that model, you enter into the development phase. Okay, so first phase is the design phase, second phase would be the development phase, and the third phase would be the deployment phase. In design phase, you first have to architecture, you have to simulate it, then you have to get the feedback, you validate these feedback, and you can see all these things are represented by concentric circles. Circle represents iteration. Okay, no matter how many times we have to iterate the process, we are good to go. Why? Because the reason why we are going through this approach is we want to stay consistent with the changes that are going to come in the market, right? That is the reason why we have transitioned ourselves from P2P approach to API led connectivity approach, because changes are the thing that we were not able to survive with, we were not able to cope up with, right, because of the limited amount of time and limited demands that we had, limited time and resources that we had in the market. Okay, so we have covered till this part in our last session, and today we are going to start with the tool that actually help us to achieve this API-led connectivity approach while following this API development lifecycle. Okay, so technically now we are going to start today's meetup. Whatever we have covered so far is just a revision of our last session. So I would recommend all of you to please go through our last session, which is already recorded and shared. Once you will go through that, I think it will be much easier for you to relate it with current session also. However, if you have not done it, that is the reason why I have covered this. Um, this part, because now you will be able to relate whatever we are going to cover today. All right. Before we start, do you have any questions, any confusions? Okay. So let me take you to my presentation. So let's start with Center for Enablement. Okay. What is Center for Enablement? It is abbreviated as C4E. Okay. C4E team. So it's a cross functional team which drives the IT operating model. See, through in my last 10-15 minutes, I was constantly talking about creating reusable assets. All right. So the reason why this team is formed in an IT industry is to take care of these assets. There has to be a dedicated team who should make sure that the assets are created, they are reused, they are published properly, they should be discoverable. I mean, if I have created something which I want people to use, it should be discoverable, isn't it? For example, today you have to write or you want to get an information. Which website would you prefer to go to? You directly go to Wikipedia, right? You know that Wikipedia is my place where I can find anything, any information about anything. So that way this cross functional team works. The job of this cross functional team is to do the asset management, productize it. It means that it actually encourage our IT team to develop assets which can be reusable, publish them so that they should be reusable. People should be aware of it. Harvesting reusable assets. You should this team actually educate the other team members and the IT team members that listen, this particular asset is already there in our marketplace. And then consumption. Sometimes what happens, you already have the asset but we don't want to consume it. Okay, so that is also a part where C4E comes into the picture. It helps in educating the IT team members and let them understand that why consumption of these assets which will actually help them in future. Innovation and self-serve. These are assets. So you can innovate it the way the client demands, the business demands. make it discoverable, and of course follow a standard and best practices. Because if you are creating something that you want to be reusable, you have to follow a standardized protocol, right? If you are using another language, I'm using another language, definitely it would be difficult for us to communicate. But if we both will follow a standard protocol, then definitely we will be able to reuse the assets. And this particular team has not only helped us to focus on creating the reusable assets and utilizing it, but it has also bridged the gap between the business team as well as the technical team. Okay, initially what used to happen, business team being completely non-technical, they used to talk to the clients, understand the business, and share it with our backend team. And the backend team was there to just start working on the project. That was our project based approach. But now the business team is as educated as what are the assets, how the assets are utilized. I'm not saying that they are technical, but at least they know the process. And the technical team is equally involved in the business. They understand that what the business is all about. That is the reason when they create these assets, they have this in their minds that okay, this asset is not only going to be used in a particular project, rather it can further be utilized in my application network by any other projects that may come in future. Okay, so this way it has actually encouraged awareness and understanding of business from both the parties. Now the business people understand technology and the technical people understand the business, so it has actually bridged that gap as well. Okay, this is our C4E team, that is Center for Enablement. And this is a team that has been constituted with the different team members belonging to different verticals of our MuleSoft new IT operating model, which is the business folks, the backend system who is working with the data, as well as the innovative team who are going to orchestrate the data depending upon the business requirement. Okay, any questions so far? Are we good? I hope my pace is fine. I'm not going too fast, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
So, why do we need a team like C4E? I think we have already answered that question. But because of the C4E team, now the delivery cycles have become shorter, faster time to market, because now assets are already present. You have a C4E team to educate you that, okay, this asset is already there in the market or the asset is still work in progress. So, based on that, if the asset is already there, it's like plug and play, right? You do not need to create everything from scratch. So, it will, definitely shorter the delivery cycles as well as increase the time to market. Reduced project risk. Now you have less amount of risk because the asset is already well tested and utilized before. On time projects delivery, adherence to standards and best practices, as well as higher quality deliverables, because we have already utilized the assets before, so definitely there is no compromise with the quality. Plus, in API development lifecycle, we are focusing on taking continuous feedback. So because of these feedback, you will never compromise with the quality and reduce number of errors and defects. So because of the C4E team, we are able to achieve all these things. All right. Now, how to achieve this API development lifecycle? What is the tool for that? Because it looks very fascinating, right? When we talk about concepts and fundamentals, it looks very good. But the implementation part is something that has to be taken care of. And that's where MuleSoft comes into the picture. So MuleSoft has introduced a platform called as Anypoint platform that has taken care of all our problems. Using this Anypoint platform, you are able to achieve your API-led connectivity approach. You are able to follow your API development lifecycle, where all the three phases can be taken care of using this single tool, which is called as Anypoint platform. So the thing is that it is a unified single solution for iPaaS. Okay, there are many other integration platforms out there in the market following these same processes. But the thing is that the tools that they are using, the applications that they are using to achieve this are multiple. So for designing an API, they have a different tool. For deployment of that particular application, they have a different tool. But Anypoint platform is a single tool provided to us by MuleSoft where all these things can be taken care of at one place. It is an integration platform as a service. So we are going to talk about this iPaaS in our next meetup, where we will focus on cloud computing, And we will talk about cloud computing from scratch. Okay, so we'll talk about what is cloud computing, and then subsequently we are also going to focus on what is this iPaaS. But as of now, you can understand that this is a single solution provided to us by MuleSoft, which can take care of full lifecycle API management. It is a complete solution for API-led connectivity approach. It helps you to build your application network of applications, data, and devices. It also supports hybrid integration platform. So using this platform, you can deploy and integrate your applications with hybrid technologies out there in the market. It supports cloud and on premises deployment, and it also supports a wide range of use cases. You name it, and our endpoint platform supports it. IoT, SaaS, um, PubSub, different ranges of use cases which is actually utilized by different other clients in the market. Everything is supported by Anypoint platform. So, what are the components of our Anypoint platform? It has a design center that helps you to design your applications. It has a studio. It has an exchange. It has, let me take you through it rather than, telling you about it. Let me quickly share my platform. Okay, so as you can see, I have already created my Anypoint platform account. This is the home page of my Anypoint platform. Okay, this is a trial version, so all of you, anybody can create a trial account on Anypoint platform. The subscription time is for 30 days, so your trial account will get expired after 30 days. But no worries, you can always recreate a trial account. That's not a problem. But there are many subscription model that MuleSoft provides. So depending upon the business requirement, our clients can can subscribe for a particular model or a particular features of Anypoint platform. So again, I'm as I've explained earlier, this is the landing page or home page of our Anypoint platform. On the top left corner, you can see you have different components at one place. You have design center. So design center basically helps us to design the APIs. So our API development lifecycle, as I had already shown it to you, it actually starts with the design phase where you design the API, you simulate it, then you take feedback. So all these things can be done using your design center and exchange. So design center helps you to design your API specifications, and exchange is the marketplace where you publish your APIs so that people can give you feedback, so that your stakeholders can give you feedback through exchange. Exchange is a marketplace. It's just like Wikipedia, right? Central IT place from where you can find any of the assets at one place. Just give me 1 second. 1 second. Yeah, sorry about that. So, Exchange is a marketplace. It is the central repository where all our assets are residing. And when I say assets, I don't only mean APIs, okay? Assets can be anything. We will talk about it in upcoming slides. So, assets can be anything that can be reusable. It can be a piece of document. It can be any example. It can be any fragment. Anything that can be reusable can be put in this particular exchange, which is our marketplace. Now, once these APIs are designed, you have taken the feedback, we have validated, we have finally created an API specification or the model of that API, we enter into the development phase. So for development, Anypoint platform has given us Anypoint Studio. What is this Anypoint Studio? It is a desktop IDE for building and testing APIs and integrations for Anypoint platform. So it's a part of Anypoint platform. However, Anypoint platform is a web-based application, right? But as a developer, you would always need an application which is locally installed on your desktop, right? So that you can develop your applications locally, you can test them locally. So for that, Anypoint Studio is created. It is a very development-friendly application where you can, with the help of the specification that you have created, you can develop your APIs as well as you can test them. So your Anypoint Studio is also integrated with something called as MUnit that helps you to test your code, to do your unit testing just after your development is done. So it is integrated in Studio. And not only that, MuleSoft mantra is less amount of coding. It basically focuses on ease of development, where you know have to do coding as less as possible. So in Anypoint Studio, you have a segment of palettes that can be plugged and play. So you just have to drag and drop those palettes, and you can write your code. You can design your architecture. So Anypoint Studio helps us in the development phase. Now comes the deployment phase. So in deployment phase, we use our runtime manager to deploy the applications. To The deployment can be possible in any of the uh, you know um, premises, any of the cloud computing system. Everything is supported by our MuleSoft, as I have already explained it in my last slide. That Anypoint platform supports hybrid integration solutions. So you can deploy your applications to any of the cloud computing systems. You can deploy your applications to on premises. You can deploy your applications to a customer's local system as well, and you can manage them. So deployment is possible through Runtime Manager, where you can manage the scalability, you can manage load balancing, high availability. Everything can be configured from Runtime Manager. But before deploying the application, you need to manage them, right? You need to secure the application, apply certain policies. So all these things can be done through API Manager. And after deployment, you also have to manage the access, right? Access of the stakeholders. So all the access management can also be done in the API Manager. All right. So please make sure you know the differences between Runtime Manager and API Manager, because again, this is an important part from your certification exam perspective as well. Okay, so API Manager is basically to manage the access on top of your APIs. It helps you to create policies, security. It manages the from which region you are getting maximum number of accesses, troubleshooting. Everything can be done through API Manager, and Runtime Manager basically helps you to deploy the applications. Okay, to your desired platform or desired destination, wherever you want your application to be deployed to your intended users basically. Okay, apart from these basic components, we have some extra components like visualizer, Anypoint monitoring, access management. So what are these Anypoint monitoring and visualizer? It basically helps you to monitor your APIs and application network as a whole. So if you want to see if your application after deployment is working fine, and the experience API, the APIs in the experience layer is able to call the process APIs, plus process APIs are able to call the system APIs. Everything can be visualized, as the name itself says, it's a visualizer, right? So you can actually see it in the graphical manner, that how many policies are being applied. If you want to troubleshoot an API, you should be able to do it through a visualizer. And monitoring is something that is not only specific to a particular API. Rather, using Anypoint monitoring, you will be able to monitor the health of your APIs in the application network as a whole. Okay, so all the APIs which are present in your application network, all the APIs can be monitored through Anypoint monitoring. Access management basically helps you to manage the access of your Anypoint platform. Like, who are the members of your Anypoint platform? What is the name of your organization? How many teams are there? What are the roles and responsibilities of your team? So everything can be done through access management. So not only you are able to manage your APIs, but you are also able to manage your team members, who should be able to access and work through your Anypoint platform. Okay, there are audit logs that help you to verify that who is working on what, which API is being utilized by which particular team member from which business group. Everything can be managed from your access management. And secrets manager is something where we manage all the important and critical certificates that needs to be confidential while establishing a communication between multiple APIs. So for that, secret managers are there. Okay, there are many other components which are still coming up, because the way IT ecosystem is changing, the way different technologies are changing. Similarly, we are also trying to upscale and upgrade ourselves, so that we should be able to cope up with the changes out there in the market. All right, so this is a brief about how Anypoint platform looks, and how using this Anypoint platform at one single place, it's a one single solution that can help you to develop the API, design the API, deploy the API, and manage your API led connectivity approach. Okay. So far, any questions, any confusions?
I have one question here
Yes,
related to
Neeraj.
the visualizer.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say one of my experience API is calling the process API, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to check which endpoint is being basically called from the process API. So
Mm-hmm.
on the visualizer, it shows the mule app name actually, or the endpoint also can we see?
I think both can be visible.
Okay.
Endpoint in the sense, I guess, yes, yes, of course, you should be able to view that.
Yeah, because in
Okay.
the app there
There are
could be
different,
multiple. Yeah.
yes. So, as I told you, right, there are different layers, there are different ways you can use visualizer. If you'll open your visualizer, there are different, parameters that you can select. So you have troubleshooting parameter, you have policy parameter, you have active traffic. You can see that how your APIs is being called in a particular time frame. So all these things can be visualized. So I guess yes, of course, you should be able to see the application name as well as the endpoints also.
Yeah.
You should be able to view that. Yes, Neeraj.
And after the deployment of those apps, do we need to do a specific configuration to get all those
Yes.
visual or
Yes, yes, yes.
okay?
So you have to enable that visualizer, parameter in your POM file, as well as you also have to, explicitly mention that to which particular layer your API belongs to. So when this API, you are going to develop your API during the development phase itself, in the POM file, you have to specify that this particular API is a process API, so that when at the time of, viewing it through visualizer, you should be able to view it at the process API layer. So yes, this is something that needs to be configured.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, great.
thanks.
Anything else? Any other questions? Perfect. So one by one, let's quickly see and understand how any point platform helps us in our design phase. So in design phase, as I've already told you, that it helps us to create these API specifications. So what is this API specification? It gives you the details of the functional and the expected behavior of an API. Okay, so during the design phase, you are just going to design the model or the specification of that particular API. We do not develop the API, we do not write the codes, we just create a model. Just like, as I told you, that when you are going to develop or build or construct an architecture, you don't directly go to the site. You probably will be creating it on your pen and using your pen and a paper, or you would like to use some softwares to develop the model. But in that particular model, you would definitely make sure to put all the details at one place, right? Because if all the details will be there in one place, it will be easier for us to get the feedback. It will easier for the stakeholders to understand what are you expecting out of this particular API. So API specification will put all the details of functional as well as expected behavior of an API. It acts as a contract that both people and software can read. It can be written in RESTful API modeling language, which is called as RAML, which is used to develop our RESTful APIs. It can be used or it can be written in Open API specifications, which is OAS, also known as popularly known as Swagger in the market, which can be used to create both your RESTful as well as SOAP APIs. Plus, it also helps you to create async API specifications, which helps us to create APIs for event driven architecture. So everything is supported in our Anypoint platform. All right. Please make sure you understand what RAML, OAS, and async API specifications. All right. Again, the course is designed for people coming from support background who are expected to be non-technical. All right. So the certification exam is designed to make sure you understand the concepts. You might not be able to write your code in RAML, and they are not going to ask this kind of questions also in the exam. They will never tell you to write a code or design an API in OS, but they will definitely try to understand that do you understand when RAML is used and when async API specification is used. Okay, so please be mindful when you are doing your preparation. Using APIs, using these API specification languages like RAML, OS, or even async API, you can define different features or components of an API. Like you can define the resources or endpoints. You can define the method, like what do you want, what kind of action would you like to perform. You want to retrieve the data, you want to write a data, you want to delete the data. So for um, Anypoint platform, basically Anypoint platform, we focus on creating the APIs which are user friendly, right? And definitely the API specifications, the languages that we use to create these API specifications are also user friendly. I mean, they are very easy to understand. So the point is, when you create these methods, we follow HTTP protocols. So now what is the HTTP protocol? HTTP protocol basically helps you to perform all the CRUD operations, but it's just that their languages are different. Okay, like if you have to create something, so I think most of you will be aware of it that we use post method for that. If you have to retrieve a data or read a data from particular application, then we will use a get operation. Okay, you will use a get method for that. If you have to delete the data, you will use a delete method for that. So again, from certification perspective, they will not ask you to write a code, but they will definitely check whether you know when to use post method and when to use a get method. Okay, similarly you can also define a query parameter and a URI parameter. Now what is a query parameter? Okay, let me explain this with an example. You go to Amazon and you would like to search something. Okay, let's say you want to search for a washing machine. So when you get, or when you want to search for washing machine, you can get washing machines from different brands and different sellers in your Amazon page, correct? That is query parameter, because you know that Amazon is a hub of different kind of things like electronic devices, household devices, books, toys, clothes, what and whatnot. But out of that, you just want to filter some certain amount of data related to washing machines. So this is query parameter. Query parameter helps you to filter out certain data from your from your ocean of data. And what is a URI parameter? URI parameter means unique resource identifier. So as the name itself says, unique. Unique means a specific detail, a specific information you would like to have. For example, if I'm looking for books, so in query parameter, I'll get all the books which are present in the Amazon page system, right? From different writers, from different genre, you will get all kind of books. But let's say I'm looking for Harry Potter. What is that? Some specific. I'm not able to recall, man. Okay. Um, the Prisoner of Azkaban. Okay, Harry Potter, The Prisoner of Azkaban from J.K. Rowling. So I'll get only one single book of Harry Potter, the Prince of Azkaban, right? Or the Prisoner of Azkaban, sorry. So that is a URI parameter. Okay, so URI parameter is for unique identifier, and query parameter is for a set of data that can be filtered from the base system. All right. Now, what is status codes? Status code means that when you send a request, then definitely you would expect a response. Now, in HTTP protocol, whenever they send you a response, they send you with a status code. So what is a status code now? If you get 200 status code, so you know that okay, this is a success status code. Similarly, if you get a status code having 4xx, like 404, 401, 402, so what does this mean? This means that there is an error done by client. Client has done certain mistake. If we get codes in 5xx series, like 504, 501, 500, so it means that the issue is not from the client end, the issue is from the server end. Okay, so all these things can be defined in our API specifications. Along with that, you can define the data type of your API, like what should be the format in which you want your output to be received. You can use non-functional requirements also, like apart from functional requirement, non-functional requirement is also important. For example, security. So that security can also be implemented, or at least it can be written in the API specification. And along with that, you can also use and create fragments. Fragment is nothing but it is a piece of code that can be reutilized again in any other API specifications. So you know, right, that the fundamental mantra of new IT operating model is reusability. So reusability is not limited to APIs. Reusability can be done for a piece of code also, just like the concept of functions in coding language, right? So you, if you, I mean, since you do not want to rewrite the set of code again and again, so what do? We actually encapsulate those set of code in a part of a function, and whenever you need to use that particular data or that particular piece of code, you'll just call that function. So similar to that, not exactly like that, but similar to that, if there is a set of code that you feel that it can be reutilized in any other API specification also, you can write it in a piece of a fragment, and then that fragment can be further reutilized in any other API specifications. Okay, so the point is all these things are supported in Anypoint platform. Okay, any questions? We are good? Okay. Next is our Anypoint Exchange. So, what is an Anypoint Exchange? It is a central repository to discover and use pre-built assets from the MuleSoft ecosystem. So, it's just like a marketplace where all my assets, including APIs, policies, API groups, example, connectors, everything is present at one place. So, whoever would like to reuse any asset, they can simply go to Exchange and look for it, search for it. Okay, it helps us to save, share, and reuse for the internal best practices as well. All right. Not only for the end users, but let's say as a team, you are working on a project. So this particular exchange can also be used internally between the team members to share, save, and reuse their internal assets. Assets can be accessible through public portal also. For example, to access these assets through Anypoint Exchange, we generally have to be a part of this Anypoint platform group. But let's say you are new to MuleSoft, you are not aware of what Exchange is, or you are not you don't have an Anypoint platform account. Still, you are able to access your assets through public portals. It's just like Facebook. Okay, for example, um, Facebook, I share something, so those who are in my friend list, they will be able to easily access and view that, right? But let's say there is a post that I have made public, so even though you are not in my friend list, you will be able to view it, right? Similarly, if you have published something in Exchange, and if somebody is not present in your Anypoint platform group, and you have made that particular asset public, so anybody should be able to view that particular asset through public portal. Okay, and what are the assets? We have already talked about it. It could be any kind of APIs, it could be a fragment, it can be a policy, it can be API groups, that is a group of API having same similar kind of policies or similar kind of functionality, set of examples, or connectors. Now, what is connector? We are also going to talk about it. Okay, so these are certain kind of assets that is present in our exchange, and many more actually. It's not, it's not something that is only this many data is there, but all kind of assets you can find in your Anypoint exchange. Okay, so since my platform is already open, I can quickly show it to you. Okay, so you can see this is my exchange. If I go here, I'm so sorry, it's a little slow. So this is my page. Okay, you can see this is my page, Mules of Meetup Training. This is my organization name. 1 second. Yeah. So this is my root page. Currently, I have not created any asset, so you can see this is blank. But let me put this particular option that is provided by MuleSoft. So you can see the kind of assets which are present in our exchange, which is provided to us by MuleSoft by default. You can click on any category, and you should be able to see the set of assets that I am talking about. Okay, the assets for Salesforce, Microsoft, Amazon, IBM. You can talk about any kind of third party, and you should be able to find those connectors, those APIs, those assets. You can see it here also, connectors, custom APIs or custom data weave libraries, examples, policies, fragments, RPA activity templates, which is newly introduced, templates, everything can be found here. You can filter it out and you can find it from here. Okay, so assets can be anything. It can be a connector, it can be a policy, it can be a particular model that can be further utilized in the form of a fragment. Anything can be categorized as an asset that can be reusable. And this is my marketplace, you can see it. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so as per MIS syllabus, we will mainly be focusing on connectors. So what is a connector? As the name itself says, right, it helps you to connect. Basically, Anypoint connector is a software that connects a mule application or a mule flow to any other system out there in the market. It could be a database, it could be any other APIs, it could be Salesforce, LinkedIn, Slack, any protocol. Okay, so connectors are basically there to help you to connect your application with any other applications in the market. All right. Why connectors are useful? Why? Because this is an integration platform, and that's the job of an integration platform, to connect your application to any other applications, right? That is the beauty of an integration platform. And this is something that has actually, helped us to implement this idea. Connectors abstract the technical details involved with connecting to a target system. So it reduces the code complexity. Now you do not need to write 100 lines of codes to connect your application to another application, because we can connect our application to the target system without even knowing all of the details required to program to the target system. Again, a beautiful concept, right? That you do not need to know the internal aspects of your target system while connecting your application to that system, because connectors has taken care of that. It simplifies authenticating against the target system. It also helps the authentication process. It also has simplified the authentication process. So basically, the Anypoint connectors are there to help you to connect your applications to any other third party protocol, application, database in the market without even knowing the without even knowing the internal aspects of that particular target system, without even knowing the details of your target system, and it also has simplified the authentication procedure. Okay, this is the beauty of Anypoint connectors. I think in my last session somebody has asked about connector also. So if you are there, this is all about connectors. However, in Anypoint platform, we support two kinds of connectors. Okay, one kind of connector is like an HDMI cable. So let's say you have to connect your laptop to a monitor or to your TV. What will you do? You will an HDMI cable from the market, right? This is something which you will buy depending upon the requirement, right? If you will need to connect your laptop to your monitor, then you will buy this kind of connector. So just like that, let's say there is a mule application and you have to connect your mule application to Salesforce. So we have a Salesforce connector for that. If you have to connect your application to Facebook, so you have a Facebook connector to that. If you have to connect your application to HTTP protocol, you have an HTTP connector for that. All right. However, when we create our APIs, then the API should also have a connector with it, because without a connector, how can anybody will be able to connect their applications with my API? Isn't it? So the beauty of our Anypoint platform is that whenever we create any RESTful API, then automatically using a REST connect feature, the connectors will be created by Anypoint platform itself. Again, we do not need to do any kind of coding for that. The moment you design your API specifications and you publish them to Exchange, automatically this REST Connect feature will create the connector for my REST APIs. Just be mindful that this particular feature is available for your RESTful APIs. Okay, just like an electrical appliances like the siren or refrigerator, they always comes with a wire, right? Because without a wire, you will not be able to connect to them, and then there is no purpose of using using such device. So for APIs like that, the connectors are already inbuilt. But for any other external, connectivity, these connectors are created explicitly. All right, and both kind of connectors are supported by Anypoint platform. Okay, any questions? Any confusions? Okay, perfect. So anything that you would like to know more about Anypoint platform or Anypoint connectors, because we have actually curated this course, according to the MIA syllabus. And for MIA syllabus, as I'm continuously telling you, that they might not be asking you any kind of technical stuff, but they would definitely like to know that how aware are you of mules of jargons and mules of processes and the concepts they use. Okay. So let me take you to the next part of this particular meetup, where we will talk about integration primitives and pattern. So what is this primitives and patterns? Primitives are nothing but these are the language for integration. Okay. Definitely every application or in IT system, I would say, they use different kind of vocabularies, right? If I'm saying that I have to send a request and a response, so there is a meaning behind a request, right? Request means that you are asking for something, and response means that there is a reply to that particular ask. Okay, so primitives are nothing but it actually helps you to understand the vocabulary, the language that we use for a particular integration platform. Because we all know that sharing a common problem solving language is critical to achieve the highest levels of performance in problem solving and prevention, right? Because if there is a miscommunication and if we are not able to understand each other's language, then we will never be able to integrate, we will never be able to reuse, or in a nutshell, we will never be able to solve a problem. All right. So in order to prevent ourselves from this, we have created certain languages, and these primitives can be categorized into integration system primitives, the primitives related to systems, primitives related to interaction type, like how these systems are interacting with each other, communicating with each other, interaction patterns primitives, what kind of patterns are there for integration and interaction, and then interaction composition primitives. So primitives are nothing but this is a language, simple, in a simple language. Again, primitives is nothing but the way to understand how the system talks and how, what do we call the systems in the integration ecosystem. All right. So first kind is system primitives. So in system primitive, we have component. What is a component? Component is the software enabled element of the system to be integrated. So the system which is going to integrate with another system, we call them as component. Rather than calling them as systems, we call them as components. Then there is interaction. What is the meaning of interaction? The way these components are communicating between each other. This is called as interaction. So the communication is nothing but it is termed as interaction. Next is message. What is a message? The data that is sent from one component to another component through interaction. So when these systems are interacting with each other, then how the data is being moved or transported or communicated from one system to another system, or rather I would say from one component to another component. This is called as message. And then what is an interface? Interface is the access method for a component that specifies the protocol and data rules for messages. Because the components are two different components, right? They might not be knowing each other. But before sending a message to another component, you need to understand what are the rules, what are the protocols that my other component follows. Isn't it? So for example, let's say I know Hindi and I want to talk to a person who knows Kannada. So definitely when I am going to interact with that person, I need to understand certain rules and protocols that they follow while talking or while understanding something in Kannada. So that is called as interface. Okay. Any questions? We are good? All right. Next comes interaction type primitives. So, what kind of interaction happens? So, you know what interaction is now, right? Interaction is nothing but the communication between the components. So, what are the different kinds of interaction now? So, one kind of interaction is query. Query means where the component asks another component to provide a specific information. It's just like retrieving a data, reading a data. So next time when you will go to Amazon and when you want to search for books, so what exactly you are trying to do? You are sending a query to Amazon. Okay, because you want to retrieve certain data, you are not doing anything, you are not adding or you are not contributing to that data, rather you just want to read the data, you want to retrieve the data. So that kind of interaction is called as query. Next is command. In command, the component asks another component to complete a state changing task. Okay, for example, you want to add certain data to your component, you want to delete certain data from your component. So there you are sending a command, because behind the scenes you are actually changing the current state of that particular component. Okay, so query is for retrieving the data, and command is for either adding, either deleting, or updating the data. Now, what is event? Event is kind of an interaction where a component communicates the result of state changing tasks to one or more other components. So, for example, you ordered something from Amazon. Okay, let's say you ordered a book. The moment you ordered a book, what will happen? The book will be added to your cart. Correct? Now, for you, this is a command where the book has been added to your cart. So, when the book has been added to the cart, definitely in the backend, the book must be deleted from their backend system. One book, if there, let's say, in their database, there are 20 books currently. So, if one book is added to your cart, then automatically that has to be 90 for other users, right? So, that is called as event, the byproduct of the commands or the interaction that you are having between two components. Okay, so this is called as event. Understood? The result of a state changing task to one or more other components will be called as event. Event is an action that triggers. Why? Because something else has happened somewhere. Okay, so this is the kind of interactions that we have in the integration platform. Next is interaction patterns. Now, there are different ways of interactions, correct? First way of interaction is request reply. In request reply, as the name itself says, right, it is a synchronous kind of behavior. I'll send a request and then I'll immediately expect a response from you. That is called as a request reply interaction. For example, I want to call somebody. The moment I'll make a call, the call will only be completed when the other person is going to pick up the call and say hello to me. Right? I'll say hello and I should get a response back. Otherwise, I'll keep on waiting for the other person to respond. This kind of communication is called as request reply communication or synchronous communication. Okay, there is a synchronous behavior here, right? You are sending something and then you are expecting a response. Next is one way. One way is also known as fire and forget. You sent your request, now you are not expecting a response there. Okay, component will send a message to another component without expecting any response. For example, the let's say the promotional messages that you get, promotional emails that you get from different brands, what happens? Do they expect any response from you? No, their job is just to send a message to you and then you will get it, right? Okay, 20% discount there and there, but you are not going to respond them back. So this is called as one way communication, fire and forget. Next is multicasting, also called as broadcasting. And as the name itself suggests, component sends a single message to multiple interested components. So one to many communication. One sender and multiple receivers are there. That is called as broadcasting or multicasting of data. Next kind of pattern is batch processing. So component sends a bounded collection of messages to another component. For example, let's say there are two systems, okay, and you want to migrate your data from system A to system B. And imagine that, let's say hypothetically, there are 1,000 records in your system A that you want to move from system A to system B. Now there is one way, either you can, handle each of the message independently and separately, so you'll have to do that 1,000 times. Or second way is you can put the entire 1,000 message or 1,000 record from one system to another system, but then there is a risk of data loss, or your system might get too much of load and the system might get crashed. There are a lot of things can happen, right? So the best way is to use batch processing. where divide your data into bounded collections. So if there are 1,000 records, let's divide it into a set of 100 records. So a set of 100 records can be moved from one system to another system in just 10 counters, isn't it? So this will, kind of expedite your work. Second, it will not put too much of load to another system or to your processing system at once. Okay, so this kind of communication or interaction will be called as batch processing. And then you have streaming, and I'm sure you all must be knowing about streaming. Component sends an unbounded series of messages to another component. So when you play YouTube videos, what is that? That is YouTube streaming, right? Data streaming is happening. When you have a CCTV camera in your locality, in your apartments, what is happening? That is a data streaming which is happening, right? It is capturing the data and you are able to view it on your monitors. So this kind of interaction will be called as data streaming or streaming process. Okay, so interaction pattern is clear. We talked about integration types, integration system primitives. Then we talked about interaction type primitives, and now we have spoken about interaction pattern primitives. Any questions so far? Okay. The last one is interaction composition primitives. Okay. Again, one of the most important topics from our MIA perspective also. So first kind of primitive is called as aggregation. And as the name itself suggests, aggregation means addition of data, consolidation of data. So let's say you have an application, or let's talk about Amazon itself. It's the best example because I know everybody must have used it. So again, I'll take you to the example of washing machine. So let's say if you have to buy washing machine, what happens? You are able to see all kinds of washing machine from all kinds of brands as well as all different kinds of sellers which are present in the market. So what is happening right now? You have got the consolidated data at one place. This kind of interaction is called as data aggregation. What Amazon is doing, it is just aggregating all the data from different sources at one place so that you should be able to view all your data, together. You do not need to independently or individually go to different sellers and different brands to check out their details, but at one place you are able to find all the data. This is called as data aggregation. Okay, next is orchestration. Again, it's a very kind of tip. You can say that whenever, if you are coming from a non-technical background and if you are not able to understand these terminologies, just try to go with their basic English meanings. Okay, what is orchestration? In orchestration, the composition is coordinated by a central component. Just like you must have seen an orchestra, right? How the orchestra works? You have set of musicians playing a flute, playing flutes, set of musicians playing drums, and set of musicians playing, let's say, keyboards. And then there is one single man moving his hands, and all the musicians follow the rule, right, to give one single output. That is orchestration. So the rule is written and governed by a central component, and all the other components are actually following that particular rule. That is called as data orchestration. And the last one is choreography, dance on your own tunes. This is a reactive composition based on event triggers. So just before this slide, we have talked about events. So what is an event? Event is an action that has happened because something has happened somewhere else. So choreography means that when you have ordered something from Amazon, and if there are 20 items present in the warehouse, the moment you have added it in your cart and doing the process, meanwhile in your warehouse 20 becomes 19, right? That is a reactive composition which has happened because there is an event that has happened. This kind of pattern or this kind of composition is called as choreography. All right, so we have three different kind of composition primitives. One is aggregation, it's the data consolidation. Orchestration, where you have the data but definitely you are applying certain logic, certain orchestration to it to get a particular output, but that logic is actually governed by a central component. And then you have a choreography, which is a byproduct of any event that has happened somewhere else. Okay? Any questions, confusions? Are we good so far? All of you with me? All right. So, with this, I have actually completed the second part of our MIA series. In this part, we talked about Anypoint platform primarily. We talked about API lifecycle management with Anypoint platform. So, these are the topics that you can find in your MIA portal. Okay, this is the link to your MIA portal. I can share this link. I'll just copy the link address. I'm going to share it in the chat window. Okay, so you can go to this particular trailhead and you should be able to find all these topics there, which we have covered today. API lifecycle management with Anypoint platform, Anypoint exchange asset types, introduction to connectors. Then there is a use case related to the same topic. So I would recommend all of you to please go through this use case. I have tried to cover the concepts in the series, but they have just created a use case that will actually help you to relate with the concepts that we have spoken about. And then we have talked about these two topics related to primitive look at the digital integration and the integration patterns for our enterprise use cases. From your certification perspective, these topics are very crucial, and I'll recommend all of you to make sure not to miss these topics from your MIA trailhead, which is already presented by Salesforce. In addition to the topics that is written here, you can also go to training.mulesoft.com and get the links for getting started with Anypoint platform. So I'll show you. If you'll go to this particular link, okay, I'm quickly going to show you so that it will be easier for you also. Okay, this is how the trailhead, for MIA certification exam looks like. Let me just increase the font. Okay. So in my overview session, I have already told you, right, that they have given all the topics, all the study materials in one place. However, the topics are, in a little haphazard manner. So what we are trying to do in this series, we have consolidated, the topics that are relevant in each of our parts of this series, so that it will be easier for you to understand, MuleSoft from scratch. And even if you are not coming from a technical background or an integration background or even MuleSoft background, it will be easier for you to connect the dots and understand all the topics. All right. So in this particular portal, in this particular web page, basically you will be able to locate all the topics that we have covered. And in addition to that, they have also given the links to this getting started with Anypoint platform. So if you click on this, it will take you to a self-paced course module, which is provided to you by MuleSoft training account. For both Trailhead and MuleSoft training account, you have to create your accounts. Okay, you have to register. So you'll go to this getting started with Anypoint platform. Right now I have logged out. So this is how you will be able to see the page. You will first have to log in. Then you have to register for this particular course. Okay. Let me quickly take you through it. I don't want to waste our time. I'll quickly open my logged in page. So this is how the logged in page would look like. Okay, so this is the fundamental course, or let me take you through the courses, the page that they are referring to. Getting started with Anypoint platform. Okay, this is the course that we are talking about. So if you'll open it, it has 5 modules in total. However, for MIA perspective, from MIA perspective, you only need to cover first 2 modules. If you are interested, please feel free to cover all the 5 topics, because it's very interesting and it will give you some hands-on also to understand, MuleSoft from scratch. However, if you are only preparing for MIA, then I believe the first 2 modules will be enough. Let me, what is not registering? Let me go directly from here. Just give me one moment. Okay, do you want to enroll in the course session? Okay, enrolled. Okay, yeah, see now it's browsing. I don't know, I think I might have some connectivity issue or so. Okay, so as you can see, this particular getting started with Anypoint platform, let me just increase the font again. There are 5 modules, okay? First two modules are prerequisites, and after that, you can see you have introducing application networks and API, introducing Anypoint platform. So these two modules are basically recommended by Trailhead. These two are self-paced, instructor-led. So you can actually go through the videos. They will help you to understand all the topics that we have tried to cover in the first two series, and you will be able to understand the basics of MuleSoft and Anypoint platform by going through these two videos. All right. However, apart from that, we have tried to cover all these things from the MIA perspective as well. So I would recommend you to go through the videos, which will be already there in our Lucknow Meetup channel, and that will also help you to prepare for your certification exam. In the next session, that will be our part 3. We are going to talk about cloud computing and deployment strategies, where we will talk about cloud computing from scratch, including iPaaS versus API management, and different kinds of deployment strategies which are supported by Anypoint platform, including scalability and network security. And all the study materials are still there in trailhead or .salesforce.com. So I would recommend all of you to please do your revisions. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us for any kind of help and support. Okay. So anything else? Anything, any questions, confusions? I'll be happy to answer.